Guys, this video is out super late because my audio sounded mega distorted. So I got a new mic and it still sounded bad, and then I got a new cable and it still sounded bad, but then I just restart my computer and it fixed itself. I'm kind of an idiot. On September 12th, 1970, CBS aired the Scooby-Doo episode entitled Nowhere to Hide, which depicted a scene where Scooby and Shaggy ran away from the ghost of Mr. Hyde. These chase scenes were usually accompanied with an old hippie rock song that would resonate with the youth at the time. The song for this episode was entitled Recipe for My Love, performed by George A. Robertson Jr. and written by Danny Jensen. After the airing of this episode, philosophers everywhere scrutinized the lyrics that claimed to showcase what the elements of love were. I mean, it's physically impossible to include a cup full of sunshine or a touch of the rainbow. One philosopher in particular was such a big fan of Scooby-Doo that he decided to outline what the actual elements of love were, and that philosopher was Erich Fromm. He laid out 4 specific features that all forms of love would have to include. Now obviously that story's fake, but the part about Fromm talking about these 4 specific features of love is not, and that's the topic of this video, outlining what exactly are these 4 things that every form of love should contain. So this video is a follow-up to our last video that looked at love in the modern world. It's not required viewing, but it'll help me with views in this algorithm. Now when you think of love, it's important to keep in mind that obviously there are different kinds of love. Like the love you feel for your cousin is obviously different than the love you feel for a romantic partner. Unless you live in... So Fromm is making a pretty bold claim here. He's saying his 4 elements apply to all of these different types of love. Now these 4 elements are care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. Now when we go over these, reflect on the relationships in which you believe you love the other person, and see if you can identify if these elements are present. Alright, so let's kick this off with care first. Love is the active concern for the life and the growth of that which we love. Now Fromm's easiest example of this is with a mother and her child. And while I'm obviously not a parent, I feel a similar care for my cat, hoping that she grows healthy and lives a good life. And if we want to get really specific, care is all about labor, working for the person you love to help them succeed in life. One loves that for which one labors, and one labors for that which one loves. Pretty straightforward. I doubt any of you would not labor for someone that you love, but I mean obviously there's a limit. Like I'm not gonna do something outrageous for another person. And also, there is a bit of assuming on your part as to what would actually help this person live and grow. So like if my girl is having a stressful work day, I'll get her some boba. It ain't exactly a life-changing thing, but it's something that I know will help her out and shows that I care for her. So next up we have responsibility. Now responsibility is pretty similar to care. In fact, it's kinda hard for me to really distinguish the two. To be responsible means to be able and ready to respond. The life of his brother is not his brother's business alone, but his own. He feels responsible for his fellow men as he feels responsible for himself. Now there is something really comforting in the idea that if you screw up or face some challenge in life, which you will, that there will always be people in your corner to support you. But granted, again, there are probably healthy limits to have. Like if a family member of mine just blows up their house for fun, I'm not gonna take responsibility for reimbursing them for their lost items. I mean, granted, I'd probably give a bit of money to help and offer a place to stay, but I'm not gonna replace their house if they voluntarily decide to go and blow it up. Now you may be thinking, care and responsibility are big elements. I mean, if we take it all the way to the extreme, we might find ourselves being invasive and controlling in the lives of our partner or loved one. We may find ourselves wanting to have a say over every aspect of their life if we really want to care and be responsible for them. But these 2 elements are kept in check by our third, respect. Respect is not fear and awe. It denotes, in accordance with the root of the word I don't know, to look at, the ability to see a person as he is, to be aware of his unique individuality. So you've kind of got a balancing job on your hands. You want to care for and be responsible for this other person, but at the same time you don't want to impose upon them. Fromm claims that respect protects against exploitation. But I think it's much more than that. It protects against control in general. It allows the other person to find out who they want to be and choose how they want to live. And again, obviously, if they're addicted to drugs or something, I think the care and responsibility element should overpower the respect element. But for the most part, you respect the individual life decisions of a loved one. So play around with this idea in your head and consider how you can balance care and responsibility with respect for someone you love. I want the loved person to grow and unfold for his own sake, and in his own ways. and not for the purpose of serving me. Now, the final element of love is knowledge. And you may think that this means burying your head in books, learning how to be a good lover, whatever. But actually, Fromm is referring to knowledge of the other person. Knowing who they are, what they like and dislike, what their hopes and passions are, that sort of thing. Now, knowledge to Fromm is motivated by concern. Because if the person is sad, you want to find out why in order to help them. You want to get to the root of it all. But I'd go farther and say that knowledge should also be motivated by genuine curious interest, especially for romantic partners. You should be interested in learning more about them and how they view the world, not only to provide emotional comfort, but also just out of plain interest and engagement. Now, Fromm talks a bit more about knowledge as it relates to his idea of love being motivated by a sort of fusion between two people, an attempt to escape our own loneliness and determined isolation. You see, we're born alone and die alone, but through love we're able to feel, or arguably not be alone, or at least be relatively less alone. It's this fusion that respects independence, which sounds paradoxical, but such is the way with many aspects of love. Love is union under the condition of preserving one's integrity, one's individuality. Love is an active power in man, a power which breaks through the walls which separate man from his fellow men. In love, the paradox occurs that two beings become one and yet remain two. So there you have it. Fromm's theory on the motivating force behind love and the four elements present in all forms of love. Hopefully his ideas help you reflect upon your own loving relationships to see how well they can form. Or maybe you think that Fromm is just dead wrong, in which case I invite you to comment your thoughts below. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell for more philosophy content, and I wish you all a beautiful rest of your day.